study.
And I haven't spoken with Reed to find out the results of it, Commissioner. But I'm sure that it showed a lot of people from Cedar City and Iron County use that to get to the recreational areas. And
Four-wheelers.
so and I think, and I may be wrong, but I
How are you?
not hear on the 17%.
Hey, Sam.
And just
Fun that. Sure being
Looking at that issue, it's very similar to the.
Hey, sweetie.
We should look at the historical path of that and whether or not improvements contributed to the flooding.
Washed out road.
Hello, hello.
The ditch has been there for eons of time.
Washed out road.
Hello, hello.
The owner of the ditch is there in Prestwich, adjusted the ditch into her backyard, did a 90-degree turn, so it wouldn't go into his ditch. He's trying to avoid the mud going into his ditch and going into her yard, and that's what he did. So do you think could he be liable for that?
Potentially, just.
Could have written you some down, but they wouldn't have fit you, I'm sure.
So this is like the dressiest clothes I could find.
That works.
That's fine.
I think he's got it
Read running,
going.
John.
We're rolling.
Running, so.
All right, right on time. Welcome to County Commission this morning. Today's Monday, the 26th of July. Turn my phone off before it's been going nuts this morning. I don't get rid of it. Hope everybody had a good Pioneer Day. It was hectic at my house, but it was good. Welcome. Let's start this morning off with a Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Cousins, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yep.
And I'll go ahead and say the prayer following that.
Please follow me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father in heaven, as we come before thee this morning, we're truly grateful for the opportunity to meet together freely and discuss the matters of Iron County. Father, we're especially grateful for the moisture that we have received. We pray that it will continue and that our water woes will be subsided. Father, we're grateful for our first responders and our military men and women, that they keep us safe, and we ask thy blessing to be with them. We ask thy blessing to be with us today as we make decisions that benefit the constituents in our county, that we do so with level heads and fair minds. Father, we're grateful for all of our many blessings and pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, we've got the minutes from our June 28th. Have you got a pen I could borrow? Thank you. Is there any discussion on the June 28th minutes?
Good.
I read through them. They look good.
All right, entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to, or I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for June 28th, 2021.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want to approve the claim payment? Now I'm pushing you
Maybe.
along instead of John.
I've tapped out.
This thing's like got grown fingers. It's
Oh
got
my
so many.
goodness.
In fact, there's spots for you two to sign
Yeah,
too.
I saw you guys' names
Oh.
in there too. So
What are you doing to us,
What's
John?
that, Dale?
There's 18 pages.
I don't
Oh.
know. There, I saw your name in there somewhere.
It's the one with all the fingers.
Do you know,
Though
Which
it's
one?
in this
in the finger
in this
side?
stack over there.
Is there just one place?
Just one, yeah. Oh, there you go.
Just one place here. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, let's move on to approval of claims for payment from July 12th, 2021 through July 25th, 2021.
I'll move for approval of claims for payments from July 12th, 2021 to July 25th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's go to departmental reports. Start out with the recorder's office. Come on down.
Does Paul Monroe know that he's reporting today? Because I don't see him here.
I don't
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Maybe I'll text
You'll
him. and
probably
just-
have really short commission reports today if I'm the only one here.
Right.
I don't have much to say. All right, so our recordings just continue to increase. We've had 6,649 this quarter. We've had 2,451 transfer documents and 22 plats. For the year so far, we've had 40 plats, which is the total that we had last year for the whole year.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Yeah, we're just
Wow.
getting busier and busier. My total revenue is $255,578 for the quarter. We have created 1,131 new parcels for 2021, and in 2020 we had 1,116. So, again, halfway through the year, and we're where we were at the full year last year. So
Okay.
it's been pretty
We
crazy.
thought it was busy last year.
Right. Yep. We had a 41% increase from 19 to 20, and then we've had additional 22% from 20 to 21.
No.
So I don't know. I'm not sure where that will end or what will happen. For our parcel fabric conversion, they have been doing that conversion on their server because ours haven't been ready, but IT has those ready now, and they will be transferring that over hopefully this week.
Oh, wow.
So we'll be able to start kind of getting on and seeing it. Ken is going to put it online, but it's not completely done yet, but it will show there. So there'll be the current one there, and then this new one will show. We'll be able to see the progress a little bit better on that. And I have used 53% of my budget so far, so I'm right on as far as budget goes. And like I said, we're just working hard, and everything's great, though. You guys have any questions? Okay.
Oh,
See
your
how easy that was?
Your office
That
is
was
easy.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. We're scheduled for IT. I don't know. Jared says he may or may not be here. He was up all night last night backing up servers and
Yeah.
so he said if I'm not there, I'm not there. Please excuse me. So we'll skip IT for now. Dennis, you want to come give us an update on the TV system?
Good morning. I think things with the TV are going pretty slick. As far as I know, everything's on schedule. We've pretty well wound down our repack stuff that we were doing for the last 2 or 3 years, which was quite a project. There's always a few ongoing things. They're just ironing out the bugs now, but everything's on, everything's licensed. So we're not in any peril of losing any licenses. We've had to relicense our FM translators this year. Had to relicense some microwave equipment. They just expire over varying
Times.
Yes, and even one of our TV sites we had to redo the site lease. So those are all done. They're all on. I think the budget's going well. Got a few projects that are still lingering from the repack. It's like I say, just ironing out the bugs. Had a lot of filters that we got given to us as a part of the process that they lose a lot of signal. They need to be replaced. They're keeping us on the air now. Some of our signal levels are reduced a little bit, but we'll fix that. We've got a problem going at Frisco Peak with a transfer switch that it's been giving us some trouble, and a generator, but I've got a transfer switch ordered. If that site goes down and the generator doesn't start, the transfer switch doesn't work, we have a 4 or 5 county outage. So that's one that I don't like to see in peril. What else is going on? Just I made some notes here, but I get nervous. I hate to even scan them. Still watching for rollout of further improved television signals. They call it ATSC 3.0. It's basically the difference between watching a Blu-ray movie and a 4K movie. It's 4 times higher resolution again, which to me, unless you've got better eyesight than I've got and a small TV, unless you've got an extremely large TV, it's hard to see the difference. The digital signals work so well, so much of an improvement over the analog systems we used to use. Another thing I've been doing this year is we had some problems with the filters reducing our output levels, so I was able to go through some equipment that we had that we were taking out, higher output levels, refurbish it, make sure it runs right, rechannel it, and I put it out to Burl to improve signals out there, which was a good signal output and signal quality improvement. So always something to do, but the priority is to keep things on the air, and then you do the other stuff as fill in. So have you had complaints, anything, directions you want to give me?
No. Oh, go. I gave, and I don't remember. This was a couple weeks ago. I gave someone your number. I got a call,
That's not right.
or had. I don't know if I gave him your number.
I'm just kidding.
I know. I don't remember exactly how. I was contacted by Councilman Phillips in Cedar, and he had somebody contact him and just say that his TV was out. But it didn't. He was going to follow up and see if it was like one guy or if it was an area. And I didn't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that turned out.
We do have some problems from time to time. Last week we had an outage for 3 or 4 hours. Like I say, that generator and transfer switch at Frisco didn't switch right, and we had about 3 hours of no television anywhere. So sometimes you get calls for something like that that's already been corrected. We get a lot of calls. Hey, I appreciate the calls. I can't see everything that goes on in the county.
Right.
So when I get a call of one I'm not aware of, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's me. I tell people are always apologizing for bothering us. I'm like, oh no, we don't know that it's an issue unless you bother us, please.
We do get calls that are the residents' personal equipment too. So
Right.
you just have to sort them out and know what's going on. I try to respond to all of them and make sure that what they're evaluate the system, see if there really is a problem or if it's something in somebody's home.
Awesome.
But anyway,
I had one more question as long as I'm on a roll. We were having trouble with our dispatch system on the north end of the county, Summit, Parowan and Paraguna last night.
I got a call last night.
Was your service affected
No,
by that?
Mr. Heap called me to ask me about that. Last time he called, we did have a power problem up there, which was creating his problem. This time, not so.
Okay.
So I talked with him last night and told him, no, I see no power issues. He was talking like he was going up immediately. I don't know if he went last night or if he was going this morning.
I don't know. It was my understanding that he
Still
was
out?
going this morning.
Is it still out?
No.
Oh.
Well, hold on. I can tell you. I don't think so.
I'm just curious.
No, they got it going again.
Oh.
I thought that was I
He
talked to George again last night.
He was
Every hour
asking-
on the hour.
Yeah, for that reason.
There are that and several others. So yeah, I
Flooding.
was
think,
asking about the roads and the mud and stuff. Some of these sites are pretty bad in the rain. That one's not too bad.
yeah,
But I'm not sure if he went last night or if he was going this morning.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Dennis, I was just curious, whatever happened with some of the local farmers in the Cedar and Parowan valleys were asking about the broadcasting for the,
To my knowledge,
Farming.
that's all working well.
they did put it up?
Yes, it's up.
It is working? Good.
We had to move it around a couple of times to find a place that it worked right, and I haven't heard from Brandon.
We were kind of wondering if it would work, but it's working good for him?
Yeah, it's working.
Oh, good.
How good, I don't know, huh?
And I can't say, I don't use it, and that's my only interface is with Brandon.
There are balers driving down the middle of the road. We know it's off a little bit.
Yeah, we've got a problem. But, as far as I know, it's working properly.
Good. Good.
Anything else going on? Anything I can do for you?
I don't think so. Like I said, I got that call. It was like a couple of weeks ago, and that's the only call I've had TV related forever.
I get calls
You do
all the
great.
time.
Keep it plugging along.
I'm just wondering if you're working on cloning yourself, so when you retire, we have somebody to replace you.
Now you want an improved version. You don't want to clone this.
We'll take 2.0.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jared, we skipped you, but you come on down. And I made an excuse for you, so if you would have not shown
Well,
up, you were good.
We appreciate him because we wouldn't be here today if we didn't have Jared with
I
the power outage last
Appreciate
night.
that and appreciate your understanding on and skipping me. I can just turn around and walk away and it'll be great. So I don't have much as far as presentation. I didn't bring you anything or anything like that with the weekend being as busy as it was. But just a couple of things that just major projects that we've accomplished in the last couple of months and then what we kind of got ongoing. And then budget, just kind of off the top, we're looking really good budget-wise. There's a couple little issues that we'll kind of monitor and see come October that were just one-offs type of a thing. We had to do emergency purchases, but I believe that we'll be able to, we've saved money elsewhere. So I think that the budget won't need to be adjusted, but I'll visit with Dan. But otherwise, other than that, we're looking really good budget-wise. So the couple of things that we've done that just completed is the body and dash cams at the sheriff's office. We got Axon in there, and we kind of helped them out, roll those up, get the servers installed, all that kind of fun stuff, the connections and everything for them. So yeah, we got that, and then we got the landfill transitioned as well to a new server. That's running really well. Hopefully, it'll continue to do that. And then we did it's kind of a minor server as well. But we got a file server that we just upgraded so we can get better speeds and all that for all the end users to be able to access their files. And so those are
Does kind of each department have their own server?
no. So like the file server.
Is there a server out there on site?
Oh, the landfill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the landfill one is out on site in Cedar,
Okay.
and then the Parowan landfill, the county runs that. That one connects to it. So there's an internet connection there to that.
Why do you
and
have to
then the
replace your
database.
servers? Is it like every?
Every 5 to 7
Yeah,
years.
that's about what I've done.
So it just kind of depends on it. We like to stay on the short end of it, not the long end to push it, because if we get failure, that's 8 times more difficult than actually staying on top of it. So I like to get it right around that 4 to 5 years and cycle them through. So yep.
Good.
And then what we got coming up is I think Carrie mentioned it when I was talking to her. She mentioned a little bit about we're doing the GIS stuff for. We're in conjunction. Sunrise is doing the bulk of it, but we're keeping the server and the parcels transitioned and all that. It looks like we'll have something really soon, within a week or so, and she'll be able to see it and run with that. So that's a big project we're doing. We're working on also bringing the sheriff's office and jail onto ExecuTime for the auditor's office. That's the time entry, so they can just enter their time that way instead of using the paper. That will be, it's been a long process. We've been working on that one for a while. We just revamped it up again and working with them on that as well. We've got Encode, which is our financial server. So the financial server we're going to replace here at the beginning of August. So that's another big transition there that we'll do. That server is pushing the 5 to 6 years. Not quite as soon as I'd like, but we'll get it done. And then fair's coming up, so we've got a lot of stuff with the fair, with the exhibits and the internet connections and that they need out there. So we've got that stuff, and then the financial connections as well. So we keep them up to date. And then Puma is kind of an ongoing long one with the assessor's office. We just started the process just last month, and we've started the data transitioning, and then the assessor's office got to do a lot of data validation, and then we'll continue to do the data transfer and all that, and then we'll switch over to a live Puma statewide system, which will then be more on the state than it is on us, but we still got to do a lot of data grabs back and forth, pushing them in and out of our system to theirs. So that's kind of our big projects and that. So questions for me?
What about scanners for Karsten's office?
So they've been ordered, but they're on back order. So I'm still waiting for them to come in.
COVID.
Oh, and it's
bad.
yeah, and it's really
I've been
affected
without
us.
air conditioning at my house for over 2 weeks, almost going on 3 weeks.
Yeah,
COVID.
we're starting to see computer prices spike through the roof too.
Oh,
so.
really?
So
Oh,
chips are
shoot.
they're less and less, so they're more and more expensive. And video cards, any computers we got to put video cards in are just outrageous right now. They've gone from like $300 all the way up to about $1,800. So, yeah, they've jumped major. I mean, so yeah, we're feeling
Just
some of those
everything.
effects.
What do you think is going to happen? Do you think the chip shortage is going to kind of, the supply and demand is going to correct itself?
I think it will. Yeah, I think we're starting to see the workforce get back in there and that, and so.
They talked about bringing it back to the U.S. It's in China, I believe,
Yeah.
right? That's the problem, part of the problem.
And from what I understand too, China's government did a few little different things in that, so they're not as
Made it
in high
worse.
demand there, and so
Oh.
we should start seeing a surplus
good.
more. So
Good.
yeah,
Is it the same chip as the vehicle problem? Is it related?
Yeah.
Same kind of deal?
same kind of deal. Yep,
Oh, wow.
Because they've got a lot of new cars sitting there waiting for a chip, right, to operate everything.
lots of them.
Lots
Got a
of
newer
them.
car, might get a good deal right now.
Yeah, we're waiting
Might
on
sell
our,
it
we're
more.
waiting on our fleet because of that very reason. We should have had them by now, and maybe November, we're hoping now. So,
So yeah, same thing.
Do you know if Josh, excuse me, did Josh end up coming out last night or working on the Everbridge Spillman
He
issue?
didn't come out, but he worked on it from home.
That's what I
So
yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
Was he up on his computer?
yeah, he pulled a late night with me last night, and then an early morning again this morning too.
Well,
so.
we sure appreciate that. I know that at one point last night that we had no dispatch capabilities from Summit North, and so we were
That's a little
both
scary.
on the radio end, both on the repeater end, and then we found out that Everbridge was down. So there was so basically, if there was a police, medical, fire emergency in North County, they would call the chief on the phone, who would then activate the phone
Activate
tree,
everything.
who'd activate the phone tree and call people to respond.
wow.
That's where we were last night, and so.
So,
But between IT and George coordinated kind of this whole thing all night long. So, I mean,
it still worked. It wasn't ideal.
right. So I mean, but we're back up and where people respond again. So that
Cool.
thank you. We knew that was going to be a long night.
And that's one of those things too. Like you hate to see it, and you don't want any kind of downtime like that and all, but you can learn from it. So
Sure.
we've identified kind of a bottleneck on our end.
Nice.
And so Josh and I were just visiting about it this morning, and we're going to rectify that bottleneck on our end. And so next time when it happens, because it will be when, not if,
Right.
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be a lot better, and we'll have better parameters in place to keep our side of it up and running. So,
Oh, that's
Nice.
good.
so yeah,
That's nice.
always
yeah.
good to kind of learn. You kind of wish you could tackle
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
had the
You
crystal
don't ever
ball to
want
know.
it to do that or wish that it would do that, but that's nice that you could learn from that.
So yeah, it was good.
Yeah. No, great. Well, we appreciate it.
No problem.
You guys are kind of behind locked doors and behind the scene and with the glow of the computer screen. But thank you.
We kind of like it. We're nerds that way. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
alrighty. Well,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks.
I texted Paul and called him. He didn't answer. So
Okay.
He must.
nice to catch you.
Let's
Realized.
just move on to commission reports.
Chanel usually does reach out to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Ready?
Yeah, please.
On the 13th, we attended the first annual awards banquet for the sheriff's office, and it was wonderful. They gave many awards. There was many toasts. There was a really nice dinner. It was really nice, and I hope they continue that. I thought it was really, really a good thing for the sheriff's department to be recognized. And the thing that I especially liked was the sheriff and several of the other people, when they got up to thank their people, they got really emotional. And I thought, that says a lot about our people, that they care about those people. And it was fabulous. I really enjoyed the banquet. But and on the 14th, I got the opportunity to go on a ride with over to Monroe Mountain with a lot of the elected officials. The governor was there, Spencer Cox, and there was a lot of government agencies and their staffs. It was pretty much a conservation, talking about conservation and what they had done over there as cooperating in all the different agencies. They got together and they said, we've got a huge problem on this mountain. The forest is dying. We've got beetle kill, a lot of different things. And they got together once a month for 4 years. I mean, they had the government agencies, they had ranching involved, the ranchers, the bunch of different agencies, the extension office, and they all worked together. And you could, that mountain was just amazing that they even had I said, how did you work with the environmentalists? Because a lot of times they just will sue when they go to try to do any of these projects. They had them sitting at the table also, which made it, really wonderful because they were in on the process the whole way, and they would work around what the things that they were concerned about. But I mean, the mountain looked. There was logging going on as we come up on, with the four-wheelers. It's a beautiful mountain, and they had a lot of slash and burn piles that they had been working on and getting rid of a lot of that dead trees. But it just is it was really cool to see how working together as the whole community was able to get those programs done. And I'd like to see that same type of a program on Dixie. That was on the Monroe Mountain. But anyway, it was fun to see that, and it was a fun ride, and being able to visit with all the other commissioners and all of that was really fun. On the 15th, I was able to go to the home builders. They had a luncheon and meet the candidate, and I would encourage everybody to go and there's been a bunch of debates and in the different areas. There's some in some of the Parowan people are running. I'm sure they have get involved and know your candidates so that you can be an informed voter, because I think that's really important. And I think that's all I had. I was gone to a family reunion, and it was so wonderful, and that's what's so fun about summers, be able to do those family reunions and that, and be able to meet and new family members. And anyway, that was really fun too.
Okay. Hey, John, Paul just texted me and said he had talked to Chanel about doing his report in September.
Okay.
So
Very good.
Just to let you know.
Thank you.
I told him it's no big deal. So I've got a couple things. So the government continues to print monopoly money, and they continue to hand it out to the different cities and counties around the country. And Iron County is getting about 10.6 million, I think, of ARPA funding. That's COVID money. I personally wish they'd quit printing money, so our kids have to somebody pay it back. But anyway, we're getting this money. We pretty much had that money earmarked for a very important project in our county, but we found out about, as a commission, we talked about this. We found out about ARPA funding, or it's a match. So the state's getting a lot of ARPA funding as well as the counties. And House Bill 1004 earmarked $50 million of the state ARPA funding to match county projects and city projects around the state. And so we thought we would reach out to the different entities. I was made aware a couple months ago about a dire need in Newcastle. They've got some water. They're up to 100 connections in that little community, and once you reach 100 connections, you have to have a backup system. So you have to drill a new well, put in a new tank, and so they had some concerns. I know Bryan has got some issues with a well right now. Paraguna's got some challenges. Canaryville does. There's just a lot of, and then we've got the bigger cities, Enix, Cedar, and those players as well. But what we decided to do is take 10% of our ARPA funding, about $1 million, and use it for some seed money to leverage. So what we've done is, like, we reached out to Mayor Gold in Canaryville and said, look, and basically Dan, and I appreciate Dan, Dan and I sat down and he put together a spreadsheet, and we kind of did a population-based formula. But if we do that strictly for population, the little communities get really left out. They don't get much at all. And so we kind of bumped those up. We elevated those and then reduced the others a little bit, so it was a little more fair. So like Canaryville, Mayor Gold down there talked to her and said, look, we'll up to $50,000. We'll match up to $50,000 that you put in as a county, and that would give us 100,000, and then we would take that to the state and ask for a match of that 100, and you're almost 4 times your money. We're not sure that'll happen. We hope it does, because the state, they've got the $50 million, and I actually met with Senator Vickers and Representative Shipp last week and I lobbied them to talk to the committee and ask them to at least look at dividing that $50 million by 29 counties, and that would be $1.724 million to me, because you look at these bigger counties like Salt Lake, they're getting $250 million for ARPA funding. So to me, it seems like it would be at least fair to allocate that money equally to the counties so we would get our share. And hopefully that'll happen. And, so basically, initially we were going to give a pretty good chunk of money to the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District, which comprises Enix, Cedar City, and Canaryville. But then each has their own projects and wishes, and plus the Conservancy District is not getting ARPA funding. So we thought, why don't we carve out the individual cities and allocate some to Enix, some to, and I didn't mention Parowan, but we elevated their amount, so Parowan would get some, Paraguna, Summit. Anyway, so by giving it to the individual cities, they would match. So like I went to the Cedar City Council meeting last week, and Cedar Cities would be about $619,000, and then they're getting about $3.8 million in ARPA funding. They'll match that 619 with our 619 with their 619, and then we can maybe double that. So I think it's a good plan to encourage these communities, and I think everybody's been kind of excited to think of projects they need to do. And there's also, I've been assured there's probably more money coming on this. So I think it's got everybody thinking about things they can do. There's some definite needs in our county, and it's a good way to take a little bit of our money and leverage it and encourage others to match that and hopefully double that. So that's, Dan, do you have anything to add to that?
Dan, could you come to the microphone?
Sorry, Dan. No, it's a long walk.
Hey, this is all unofficial anyway, so what do you think? No, I know. The only other thing is just we're hoping that we can talk the state. We're hoping that the state can see how much House Bill 1004, that's this local match program, can be successful. We're hoping that they can see, because $50 million bucks, when you start talking infrastructure projects, that's a drop in the bucket, and that is money that is gotta come from user fees and taxes for real things that are needed in the community. And in a year like this, we really understand water projects, how much we are desperate for these things. So we're kind of hoping that this selection committee is overwhelmed by the number of legitimate, needful projects. And when you're looking at that versus building a vague program to, you know what I'm saying, do something else that maybe there's not the need quite isn't apparent, that they'll come back and they'll say, okay, let's actually do another one of these things, and we can put this money that really has been printed, that we are going to pay for. There's no doubt we will have to pay for it as a country. That at least if it goes into infrastructure, that's a really good thing. So
well, another thing that Dan had a good idea. He suggested we get all these letters from the different communities. I think Brian has already sent us their letter, Newcastle, Canara, Parowan, Paraguna, all of them, and put together a packet from the county that's really, so they can cherry pick, or they can take the whole packet and say, this is awesome, let's just fund the whole thing. So that's kind of what we're hoping, right?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, CARES money, there was sometimes where we were getting creative to try to figure out how to spend it. One of the things with this ARPA money, and Congress was smart enough to realize that if they wanted this money actually spent, and actually, like, you can only invent so many ways to spend money or programs. As we even had a business impact program with the CARES money, and we allocated a bunch of money, and we were only able to get so much of it out the door. It actually becomes the challenge. We don't want to waste it. We don't want it to be ill spent or even worse, fraud, stuff like that. But man, you cannot argue with infrastructure projects, and that's why this is quite a good idea, I thought. So,
Thanks. The other thing I want to talk about, we had a little bit of flooding. I heard kind of a funny story over the weekend. There's an old farmer that was a stake president years ago in one of these valleys, and he offered a prayer in one of the meetings and said, Heavenly Father, we'd really like some rain, but don't give us none of those damn gully washers. But we got one of those in Canaryville, and it came down and did some damage with some property. But we're so grateful for the moisture. But that's one thing we're working on. We've probably got to clean a detention basin out down in Canaryville and work on that so that it can hold the water and really work better.
Paraguna also
Mm-hmm.
had quite a flood. We'll probably have to do some road work over there.
Okay. So we've got just some of those little things going on with flooding here and there, but we like I say, we're so grateful for the moisture, and we're supposed to get some more today, which is really awesome. Had a meeting last week with the Cedar City engineer, Reed Erickson, Rich Wilson, our county engineer, and then it was who were the NEPA guys or the NRCS guys? I mean, it was Dodds, Jason Dodds, and some of those guys. But they were talking about the wastewater treatment effluent project and how it's pretty cool because NRCS is looking at including in that whole area out there for a NEPA, so they can get the NEPA done and mix it with another project, combine it with another project, so that when whatever direction they go using that wastewater, some thoughts have been to use it for a secondary water system. Some other thoughts have been piping it to farmers. There's about 3,200 acre feet coming out of that wastewater treatment plant, and we could pipe it to farmers. It's a type 2 effluent, and they can legally put that on their crops, their alfalfa,
And rest their
and then idle their wells.
wells.
So because that's one of the aquifers out there in Enoch that is being overdrawn, one of the worst in the whole basin, and Cedar and Parowan areas or Enoch, and it's really drawn down. So that we could use wastewater for that, and for the record, that water, the effluent water, is already being used to some degree with some livestock and growing some stuff. I don't think it's being used as efficient as it could be. But anyway, those are some things that are good, and then there might be some funding that will come through the NRCS to help fund some of those projects too. So, and that's all I have.
I, like Marilyn, was gone last week. Some of the things that we've really been focusing on, we've been forced to focus on the last couple of weeks, is our flooding. We our fires went from like we were getting killed on fires, and now nothing's burning, which is awesome.
It's awesome.
But with the rains come the floods. We had an incident a week and a half ago. The tracks washed out, the railroad out by Lund. We actually had a derailment. I don't know exactly how many cars ended up tipping over, but it was a 96-car train.
Yeah,
It was
there
about-
was like 15, 12, something
yeah.
That actually
tipped
derailed.
over. The engines are in Lund right now.
So
They don't look so very pretty.
but with that, our response as a county was phenomenal. Our sheriff's department, fire departments, emergency management. Literally within minutes of the derailment, all of those groups were mobilized. We had our mobile command center up and running in Lund within a really short period of time. Those are kind of the guys that you expect to go. The ones that really need some praise are our road department, our landfill, those guys. They all responded with heavy equipment. There was some rescuing that needed to be done that was really tough. They couldn't get to the victims because of the water and because of the rain. It was really precarious. But and then the days following, just to get those roads back open and get things Bruce and Preston and Wade have spent a ton of time and effort in that. But then from that incident, like we said, we've had some flooding in Canaryville, we've had some flooding in Paraguna, we've had some threats in Parowan, and again, the landfill, the water department, or not the water department, we don't have a water department, but the street department, the landfill, and Wade being included. Wade is our new fleet manager, sign printer, but Wade's been out hours upon hours helping get these roads open and operate that heavy equipment to take some of the stress off of the road department, who has other projects that they're working on. So they've worked so hard behind the scenes. I think those guys really need recognition.
Can I tell just a little story
Absolutely.
about that?
You bet.
So Preston was out there. He didn't even know there was a train wreck, and they said, "Where's the train wreck?" And he said, "I don't know. I didn't know there was one." But anyway, he told me a little story that I thought was pretty amazing. And usually on those trains, there's 2 people, 2 engineers on those trains is all. And for some reason, whether it was a training or whatever, there was 3 that day. The individual that got hurt, he got knocked out, and when the floods came, they tipped over, and when the floods came, it filled up the train car with water. The 2 guys were able to get out, but they were littler guys. The guy that got hit was a big guy. Preston said he had the biggest shoe I've ever seen, and he said he was probably over 300 pounds, but he said those 2 guys were able to lift him up out of there because he was unconscious, lift him up out of the train and get him out of the water. He probably would have drowned because the one probably alone could not have lifted him out of there. So I thought that was a pretty neat story. Somebody was looking out from up above, I'm sure, for those guys to all survive, and I hope they're all doing well now. I think that they probably are.
And it's just, I think it's a real testament to our county employees and all of our emergency
and then Chief Phillips' truck, I believe, washed. He tried to get to there, and the flood waters were still coming. They used Cedar City's big 6x6, the military vehicles to get to the train. That's how they was able to. So it's so exciting to have those type of, you look at them and they're fun, and the guys all think they're big, fancy trucks, but they saved us this time. They actually rescued those people. So
Yeah.
Preston haul those out, or did they drive them out? Those big trucks?
I probably drive them.
I think they ended up driving.
Yeah, I'll bet
them
they
out,
would
yeah.
have. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, in fact, I went to, I was at the fire department that next day, and they've got a bunch of recruits, training recruits, and they were all out there washing those trucks.
Oh.
I mean, they're
I'll bet that was some mud.
Oh, out and back of the fire. I mean, you couldn't even see red.
That's some nasty mud
There
too
were
out there.
a couple of these, and they had on T-shirts, Cedar City Fire Recruit.
Oh.
They were out there
washing, huh?
Yeah, and they were.
That's neat.
Yeah, it was a mess, but so we talk about these training things that we do, because we had, there were firefighters from Paraguna, Parowan, Canaryville. They all responded out there as mutual aid, and we always talk about the training and coordination, but those type, when they spend so much time together, training and such, that's when these things happen, we're ready to handle them. Even though we're a rural area and we've got a major train derailment, we didn't have to call in. We did call in help from St. George because there were some explosives on the train and things. We needed to call the bomb squad and and some other folks for help. But we're really able to handle most major incidents.
So our ranch is just down the tracks. In fact, they called, and I thought it was right on our ranch, because the 4 mile where comes down and goes underneath the tracks right there, and it's fairly small bridge that takes the water from that, and I knew that probably would be a problem. anyway, when they called us and said, "Do you have any equipment?" Well, all of our equipment is up the country to our summer ranch, where by the time we would have got out and got up there, the county was already headed out. So, so anyway. But it was north of Lund rather than south of Lund. We're south of Lund, and it was actually it was by Blue Mountain that washed down that did all the damage on that one and washed it completely out. And I asked Preston when he was telling me about being out there, and I said, "What did the guys say?" And he said that they just saw water across across wherever they thought the tracks were, and the tracks, of course, were gone, washed away. But the next morning, Matt went out, and on our side, the 4-mile wash had washed a lot of the ballast out from underneath the tracks. So if the train would have been coming the other way, it would have crashed on our place. So either way, both of those places washed out, and they've got them going again. We had somebody call and say, because the fence was down, washed away, which a whole bunch of them are washed away in our roads and all that. But there was cows on the tracks, and the guy that lives out there said, "Your cows are on the tracks." And Matt said, "Well, there's no train, so we're okay for a minute." But yeah, it was crazy. But they've got them going again. They're back going again. So thank goodness that was a hurry up job to get them back going again.
Well, and you think about the consumers on the other end of those trains that are waiting for those materials and goods. We talk about
they go about every hour. We have a train go by.
And
every hour.
Think about the revenue and how it's going to affect the little guy on the other end at some point. So it's so important to be able to respond and get that infrastructure back in place.
I drove out there a couple days later just to look, and I ran into the guy that he's a subcontractor that goes and takes care of these derailments. He's a contractor, and those cars were full of Toyota pickups.
Oh wow!
He said they pull them out and run them over with a D8 cat and throw them on. They don't, even if they're scratched, they just destroy them. They just crush them, and then they cut up those train cars and throw them away or salvage them.
Yeah, salvage them for the
They
metal.
don't try to save anything.
No. Once they've been in a wreck, I'm sure they couldn't save them.
Interesting stuff.
You think they could use an alternator or a fan belt?
Yeah.
Gotta get in there and pull the chips out. Resurrect the chips out of those trucks. All right. Well, we've got 13 or so minutes before our 10 o'clock calendar starts. So I would hopefully anticipate starting right at 10 and moving through. So we'll take a break for a minute.
Oh, he'll be here.
Yeah, I think it's been all the whole time. I think it was Alice. How did you end up with it? Is it just yours, or is it your
It's my mom's.
oh your
My mom's the remaining.
off of it?
Yeah, so it's my mom's. I do all the main.
Oh, yeah. That's good deal.
That's good. Are we running, John?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna
Okay.
get Reed. Oh, he's going. Okay.
All right. Welcome back. Item number 1. The public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of proposed minor subdivision, the Fiddler's Canyon LLC, Section 18 minor subdivision, 2 parcels located near the northwest corner of the intersection of Iron Springs Road and Antelope Springs Road. And it's approximately 525.83 acres, and the legal description is included on the agenda.
I think that's a typo.
think
it's
that's
40
not
acres.
right.
I think it's. I don't think it's. I called
What
Frank
is it?
Nichols. I said, "What are you doing to 500 acres?" That's
Okay.
40 acres.
All right, good. Yeah.
Is that right?
We're breaking off 40 off of 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, that's a.
Okay, that didn't
That's
seem
a
right.
big subdivision.
I don't make mistakes.
All
Thank
right.
you for clarifying that, because that gives me, a little latitude for the next one.
Uh-oh.
Good morning, Commissioner. We had this on the Planning Commission. Most of you are aware of that. This is just a quick overview of the location. You can see here it's just out on the Iron Springs Road, just at the junction of the Antelope Springs Road. And it is all zoned industrial. This is the zoning map of the area, and you can see where the star is. It's right on that intersection right here. You can see that there is a small 3 megawatt solar plant right to the west of this property. The Antelope Springs Road runs off of the junction right here off of the Iron Springs Road, turns right here and goes across the bottom of this property and then out. And so there's another solar farm up here and another one just a little further over here. So it's right out in that industrial area. This is I've taken some slides from the Planning Commission conditional use permit, because they also applied, besides this subdivision, to do a conditional use permit on this project. And this is what they're looking at. This was Nano Atomics Utah Ventures that got a conditional use permit for this property that they will be able to do with now breaking off this from the entire piece. This is the exact subdivision plat itself. You can see the bottom right corner there is where this parcel is located, and it's the 40-acre piece that's being taken out of this larger 528-acre piece, 525 acres. It is served by a well that's on the property currently. They will use by septic, and it is already zoned industrial. And I think we've discussed pretty much what's there. So that's an introduction to the project. We're just breaking off. It has frontage on the Iron Springs Road, which is already improved. And then on the Antelope Springs Road is where they'll take their access.
All right. Chair will declare the public hearing open. The parameters and rules of the public hearing are on the screen if anyone has any comment. Seeing none, Chair declares the public hearing closed and turn the time back over to Mr. Erickson.
Okay, we have reviewed this, and didn't know if you had any questions or discussion that you'd like to have before we review the standards. This is a minor subdivision, and these are the things that are considered and that the Planning Commission reviewed and make a recommendation for approval on. It accommodates all of the necessary services. These are the things that are required there. We did have some discussion. There are no roads, because it's a minor subdivision, there are no roads to be dedicated, so no improvements required there. It meets all of the other standards. There was some question on an off-site improvement, whether that road needed to be paved. The industrial zone requires paving off-site, but in a subdivision, the fire marshal, anything that's less than 7 lots in a minor subdivision, we don't consider that would require a public water system or fire flow. And so the fire department said that that road was fine the way it was. They felt it was a good condition road to provide fire flow. The amount of traffic that would be on that road because of the conditional use permit that we talked about, the planning commission didn't feel like it warranted having to pave that because it's an off-site improvement. And so there's nothing required because of the subdivision on-site, but off-site they would monitor the use of that road, and if there was something that needed to be done there, the applicant said, yeah, we recognize that we could participate if that's something that needed to be done as we went along. If we were finding that we were damaging the road or something like that, they would be aware of that. So that's kind of where we are.
Great.
So that's why I say the variation on the asphalt pavement, only because it could be required as an off-site improvement, but it's not required because it's not an on-site improvement.
All right. Any discussion or call for motion?
I'll go ahead and move to approve the proposed minor subdivision, Fiddler's Canyon LLC, Section 18 minor subdivision, 2 parcels located near the northwest corner of the intersection of Iron Springs Road and Antelope Springs Road, Cedar City, Utah. And the rest of the language that's in the agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item number 2 on the agenda is public comments. Remind folks of a 3-minute time limit, and be nice when you make your public comment.
Sure.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Regina Taschan, and I'm on the Cedar Highlands HOA Board of Directors. And it's been a couple of months since we've met, concerning our road issues. And with the drought, with the recent rains, we have terrible road damage. We had to call up Bullock's Dirt Works to do some major repairs, and that's on, of course, the HOA membership. We pay for it out of our own pocket. Some things have happened that we're very encouraged. We had the May 1 multi-agency wildfire exercise, and that was really awesome. But I observed firsthand the difficulty that fire and emergency vehicles were just getting up the main road. Also, there's been a traffic counter put in, and we want to thank, first of all, Iron County, the commissioners, Reed Erickson, George Colson, who've, for our tiny little community of 165 lots, that you've given us, some, signs of care and concern, and that is appreciated. Our coming down Saturday had to go into town, and just driving down, and I'm sure the counters are going to show how much traffic is coming up, for people trying to access recreational spots above us. So our main road is a thoroughfare for 4-wheelers, people coming up in the winter with their snowmobiles, dirt bikes, and of course the BLM bike trail. That doesn't help it with the 2-wheel drive vehicles. But Saturday, just one small example, I was driving down and I was coming up at high rates of speed, 4-wheelers and 5 kids that were on dirt bikes, and they were really young, and they were just flying up. And all I kept thinking is, what if they hit a rut in the road? What if they hit a rock? God forbid there's serious injury or fatality or something. What our hope is, it's not going to be a major wildfire or some sort of tragedy that gets more urgency to our tiny little community. But we thank you very much and hope to continue dialogue and participate in partnership with you guys.
Thank you very much for your comment.
My name is William Pressgrove. I just have some questions. They're rhetorical types. We are a community of laws. but I see that part of those laws are zoning laws, and zoning has become a farce because one owner says, yes, I want RA20 for my property, and he sells the property, and the next property owner comes in and says, hey, I need A20 because what I want to do doesn't fit RA20. So the planning commission goes through all of the rigmarole of rezoning it back to A20, which it was originally. The citizens around have various concerns about this kind of activity. I've also seen other properties where the owner wanted to build a indoor arena, but that wasn't zoned for an indoor arena, so they changed their proposal to a barn and then built their indoor arena calling it a barn, to get around the rule of law which we have. And the conditional use permits mitigate any kind of rules and stuff that are on the property, that are on the zoning. That it just makes a hodgepodge of zones with different things that they can do that are conditional uses. It becomes more, let's see if we can get around the rules by using conditional use permits for different things on the different properties. And my concern is, how do we stop the abuse, let's say, of the zones that we have by individuals, saying, well, I don't like that zone, so I'm going to ask the zoning commission to change it. And so now we got a patchwork of quilt of all kinds of different zones, and the only criteria that I've seen that for changing a zone is that the new zone has to touch another zone, or the equal zone on one side, in order for them to make the change. It just does not compute that we have so many conditional uses and so many different zones that can be changed at a whim because the property owner wants them changed. I just want to know, or just wanted to think about how in the world do we fix this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no additional public comments, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. Discussion and possible approval of a proposed subdivision final plat, the estates at Sunrise Ranch, 32 lots, approximately 34.82 acres, located near 3700 North, 2300 West in Cedar City, and the rest of the legal description is included in the agenda.
You'll recall this application coming through with preliminary plat, both recommended by the Planning Commission and approved by the County Commission for preliminary plat. They're back now for final plat. This is located just out north off of 2300 West, right straight west of Monarch Meadow subdivision and east of Fifetown, located right in between the two. This is the final plat layout. We have had a couple of changes since the preliminary plat layout. Not in terms of the layout of the subdivision itself, but mostly related to the sewer. You recall the previous discussion where the sewer was so shallow that we had to have individual pump stations going up to that. Since that time, they have rethought that, and now we'll run the sewer all drained without pump stations. So rather than taking it and trying to run it back up to 2300, they got an easement down this side of this property and across 4000 to be able to tie back into 2300, so it can all be gravity. And so it's a much better situation than what we had previously. You're aware that this was zoned R1 half, but they are larger lots, and so The Planning Commission and the County Commission approved the variation from curb gutter and sidewalk because they had adequate large lots to be able to handle drainage, and it's so flat that we create more problems sometimes by collecting the water through curb and gutter than we do by letting it drain and try to handle most of the drainage on site. So that's the case here. There is no curb gutter and sidewalk. They have a good water connection that allows the Water Conservancy District to loop their system between Five Town and the Monarch Meadows, and so it really helped in that regard. So a final plat, let's remind you that we've primarily been doing preliminaries and minors. We haven't done a final for a little while, so this is out of the code for the final subdivision approval of what the County Commission can do. That second paragraph, they can take action to deny the final plat or to make modifications or find in non-compliance. And what we're really looking for in the final plat, this isn't in the ordinance, but I just kind of put this out as a summary from other portions of the ordinance. What a final plat really doing over the preliminary plat is that we're just verifying that we have compliance with the layout of the preliminary plat and everything that was approved there. We do the construction drawing review for all of the public improvements that are going to be put in that are reviewed and approved by the county engineer after being prepared by the applicant's engineer. We have the signed Mylar that will be recorded. We have the financial guarantee that will ensure that the improvements will be put in. As you're aware, with a preliminary plat, we have two options. The developer can put the improvements in after preliminary plat approval and then record final plat, or they can bond for those improvements or provide a financial guarantee that will ensure that those improvements will be put in within 2 years, or we can act on that financial, in this case is a letter of credit, and we will be able to get those improvements put in. This allows the developer to move forward and record the final plat so that they can sell lots. We can issue building permits, and then we just won't issue a certificate of occupancy on the building until the improvements are all in. So that's how we go forward, and allows the developer to start recouping some money to help pay for those improvements, and that's the way that most of them are done, even though some have still chosen to just put the improvements in themselves and then record final plat. So as we go through this process and working with the bank and getting the letters and everything, sometimes we have all of those things in this particular case and one other one in this batch of 4 today that don't have the financial guarantee yet. The bank said they're issuing it, but the paperwork just hasn't caught up with us. So that's the case here today. So our recommendation would be that this be approved subject to being recorded after we have the final, the letter of credit from the bank. This also, we have a place on the plat for signing for tax clearance. That's the other thing that we do before we record this, is to make sure that the taxes are current. So that's what we do with the final plat as opposed to a minor subdivision and preliminary. That's where we're at with this one. I think we're all good to go.
I have a little question. Can you go back to the map of so out on Westview, we're having an issue. So on those really sharp turns on some of the, in Westview we put up signs so that people couldn't park. These are the more narrow roads, right? The 44 or whatever.
45-foot right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's
so
the road
on
section.
those real sharp turns, when those people want to park in front of their house on those sharp turns, it doesn't allow them to park there and be able to get emergency vehicles. Sheriff Carpenter and I went out and we decided that we would put no parking signs. Well, the people are very angry because they can't park in front of their house because there really isn't room to park on those type of turns like that on both sides of the road. And I wonder if we should modify some. And I'm not exactly sure how to do that, but I'm concerned about it because it is a problem. On those really sharp turns like that, you can't park on both sides of the road and get emergency vehicles around those. So I don't know whether you need to come back a little, make kind of a cul-de-sac type of a frontage, I don't know. But
One of the things we did in this subdivision, as you'll recall, they had roads proposed to go straight out here and straight out here, and then the Monarch Meadows lines up right here. And so we preferred to have one entrance and bring these both in to this frontage road where they could then come into onto 2300, because 2300 is a much busier street.
Yeah.
So it did.
Yeah.
We kind of created that in some respect,
Yeah,
rather than allowing
yeah,
two. We
to
felt
go
that was a
straight
safer
out.
situation.
But you know what I'm
Fortunately,
saying,
in
if
this
they-
case, they'll have frontage on two corners, and they'll have more access, on the street for two sides that could be held back. And so it may be a matter of how far back we paint the curb,
Yeah.
so that they can't park that close to the corner.
Yeah.
Corner lots right now have a restriction of being, they can't plant anything or put a fence or put anything there 40 feet back as a triangle from the corner, back 40 feet each way. And that's by ordinance. So that's our kind of our view area, but it doesn't say they can't park there.
Yeah.
So maybe what we do in the subdivisions themselves is just paint back and have a no parking restriction that 40 feet, as well as.
Do we need to change something in the ordinance?
I don't think so. I think we can do that.
Because we did it and the people have been parking there, then all of a sudden we say, no, you can't do that.
Right.
And they're not happy. So, it might eliminate some of our headache.
Yeah, if we wanted to expand that restriction that says you can't put a fence or physical barrier or anything like that, and include vehicles with that,
That's what I'm
that they couldn't
thinking.
park there as well, so that we have that clear distance around the corners.
I think we do need to do that because
Yeah.
it is an issue, and the sheriff was concerned about it,
Okay.
getting vehicles, emergency vehicles in there too, because when they park there, one car could barely get through, and especially if they, came out, didn't park real wisely, but could we do something like that? I'm concerned about that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think rather than doing it in the subdivision ordinance, we would want to do it in our other ordinance in the zoning section that talks about clear distances from intersections.
Okay.
That's really
And
where
just-
it
and
relates.
just add
Just
that,
add parking.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
addition to shrubbery and fencing and everything
Yeah.
to keep that clear distance. That'd
I
probably
think
be the
that
best place
probably
to do
would
that.
fix that.
We could include that with the next revision that we make, that we're working on now with the planning commission regarding townhouses. Our option
okay.
there, and maybe include
that in
provision
there.
in that
Okay.
ordinance.
Great.
We'll look at
That
that.
answers my.
Well, and I think, to be clear, Marilyn, it wasn't really the county that initiated the signage. It was the HOA, right?
The HOA came to us,
And
but
wanted
then
to-
With
when
complaints about
complaints
the safety
about
in the
it,
area.
yeah, the safety, and then when we went, the sheriff was concerned about it also. I mean, we felt like it was a safety issue. There was some other parking issues that I think were tit for tat with the neighbors.
Sure.
But I think we resolved that one. But this one, the sheriff and I both had a concern about that, on those
Well, I think that's a
narrower-
good place to address it, because then it would relate to all subdivisions, that
Yes.
have been done in the past. It's a safety issue related to the other things that
Yeah.
we keep those clear zones for.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's a great idea. Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Call for motion.
Okay, I'll move for approval of the proposed subdivision, final plat, the estates at Sunrise Ranch, 32 lots, approximately 34.82 acres, located near 2700 North, 2300 West, Cedar City.
3,700.
3700.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that one is approved. Moving on to number 4, discussion and possible approval of a proposed subdivision final plat, Painted Desert subdivision, phase 1, 31 lots, approximately 20.64 acres, located at approximately 5150 North, 2300 West, Cedar City.
This is located just north of the Rancho Bonita subdivision, Phase 1 and Phase 2, off the corner of Mid Valley Road and 2300 West. Outlined in yellow here, you'll recall having done the preliminary plat on that. We had some drainage issues related to that as well, and and had granted a variation from doing curb and gutter with a special road section where we had designed for the driveways to be little dams on each lot so that it would hold more of that water. There is a retention basin in the corner of this lot, number 12 right there in the very northwest corner of this property. And this is phase 1 with plans to do phase 2 and phase 3 coming south that would fill in all of the property between Rancho Bonita and this phase 1. This is the road section for this area we talked about with the grades and being able to handle drainage there without the curb gutter and sidewalk in an R1/2 zone. This is a maximum density subdivision, which allows for the overall density to be calculated at 2 units per acre or 1/2 R1/2, but there are some 0.35 acre lots and some smaller lots and some 1 acre lots. We believe that this is a good option for development to give a more variety within a subdivision of the type of homes that we will have based on the types of lots that are available and makes a well-balanced neighborhood. This is also served by the pump station that's in the northwest corner there that serves and was built for the Rancho Bonita subdivision and serves several other subdivisions further to the south. So I think we have good subdivision here, compliance with the final plat. We do have the financial guarantee and everything's good on this subdivision. So.
All right. There's no questions. Move for approval of item number 4.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the proposed subdivision, final plat, Painted Desert subdivision phase 1, 31 lots, approximately 20.64 acres, located approximately 5150 north, 2300 west, Cedar City, Utah, and the description listed in the agenda.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 4 is approved. Number 5, decision, possible approval of a proposed subdivision, final plat, Harvest Fields subdivision, 7 lots, 173 acres, located at approximately 3400 south, 7700 west, in Cedar City, with the description, legal description in the agenda.
This subdivision, you'll recall, just on the west side of Quichapa, off of 7700 West, located here. The zoning map was the older zoning map. You'll recall having rezoned this property to RA20, so it will now reflect pink in between the R5 and the RA20. This is currently in a pivot, and now is being subdivided into these 7 lots, 6 20-acre lots and 1 40-acre lot. And they have met all of there are no variations on this subdivision, meet all of the standards for subdivision, preliminary plat, and now final with recommendation from the Planning Commission, and was approved by the County Commission for preliminary plat. They have the construction drawings in place. We are still waiting for the letter of credit from the bank, but I spoke with them on Friday, and that will probably be issued today. They were just trying to figure out the right wording, and so that will be recorded again, just like the other one, once we get the letter of financial guarantee. Any questions about that one? Again, same list and same compliance. Should be good to go.
All right.
I'll move for approval of the proposed subdivision, final plat, Harvest Fields subdivision, 7 lots, 173 acres, located approximately 3400 south, 7700 west, Cedar City, Utah, with the stipulation of their paperwork getting in.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hey, Reed, as long as you're up there, do you want to we'll swap
his others,
number
yeah.
7?
Yeah,
We'll
that's
move on to number 7, and we'll come back to number 6.
Sure.
You seem to be on a roll, and I think that's
Keeping them short enough, you don't want me to get off track.
No, I want you to stay on that roll. We'll just, as long as you're up there.
Or get us off on
Okay.
Let's
track.
go to number 7, and then we'll come back to number 6.
John, you want to get me back there then? This is something that you're all aware of, working on Lund Highway and getting it paved, and with the Appaloosa Solar now coming to the table and saying we are getting ready to build us next project, and we'd like to see what we could do about getting that road chip sealed. It was on the county docket to get done down the road, and so they're kind of helping move this up. So you have a draft copy of the agenda or of the agreement in there, but essentially it's this area located right off of about 7,000 north on Lund Highway is where the pavement currently ends. And I'll just pavement chip seal, I'm just using interchangeably, okay? Recognizing that it's not an asphalt pavement, but it is a chip seal surface. Up to the Gap Road, and that's what the road department would like to get chipped that far. I broke it out in the agreement, it's broken out, and I just made this map to show which of those three categories are in the ordinance, or in the agreement, in the memorandum of understanding. The phase one, or the first portion there, would be done by Appaloosa Solar entirely. The county wouldn't be involved in that at all. They would just take care of that and get that done, and they want to do that within the next month or two so that it's done and they can start construction on that this fall and have their equipment. That'll give them access to their driveway where they will go into the property. And then the agreement specifies that second section, each section 1 and 2 are both 1.4 miles. So that next section then would be done by the county with the deadline of the following year. And then phase 3 would be a cooperative venture between them and the county to be specified in the future by a separate agreement as to how and who will participate and how much. We may have other people, there are other solar companies developing on the other side of the road, and they could come to the table and participate, but we would work out the details of that. And then our interest is, of course, with the question mark, is we don't have in this agreement specified how far we go to the end of the gap, to where the Gap Road or the Horse Hollow Road cuts off, and that we would do that for the future. Again, with this party agreeing verbally that they would, be involved with that and participate, but they don't know when, and we don't know how far down the road that'll be for the county either. And this 3.86 miles that encompasses sections 1, 2, and 3 is what was specified in the conditional use permit that they would have responsibility for to repair and do any reconstruction of things that were damaged as a result of their construction, because that's all of their frontage for what their solar development is. So that's why we left it to the 3.86 miles in this agreement, because that's the specifics of their conditional use permit. With their next phase and or other conditional use permits, that's why we put in this agreement the language here on number 3 that would allow for that to be done through future agreements and or conditional use permit amendments for the additional space. Well, your language, I had done this presentation before I made that adjustment. So your draft will, on number 3, will say MOU at the very bottom, separate MOU and or CUP on there. I didn't update this presentation after I made the change to the draft that you have. So anyway, that's the agreement and the sections. Are there any questions about that? Tim Sturr, representing Appaloosa Solar, is here to answer any questions and to have any further discussion based on the proposed agreement.
On that second segment, it says, you mentioned Iron County would do that in 2022. Is Appaloosa paying for that?
No, the county's paying for that.
Okay.
That's on the county.
Yeah, a little bit.
The first section's on them, second one's on us.
Okay.
A little bit of history on that. When we come into negotiations to do that, we were very appreciative to the solar company to come in and go ahead and do that themselves. Preston said he wasn't able to do that right at this time. He would be able to do it the next year, and so they stepped up and said that they would hire a individual to, a private company to come in and do that. And so that was really, we appreciate them stepping up and doing that. That was worked out real well.
And we're going to do that within our normal budget, not
Yep, just our normal budget on the county part.
Next year.
Exactly. Yep. So,
All right. Any other questions, concerns? I'd call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU between Appaloosa Solar One LLC and Iron County for construction improvements on Lund Highway as described by Mr. Erickson.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we take a minute and get some signatures on these plats then, and then I can
Absolutely.
taken care of as well. You have John and Sam both sign here.
Next, but I gotta cue something.
Do you want to be next? You can.
I could be, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta take a second to cue something up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna, it's gonna take me a second to cue up what I need to do, so I figured during this downtime I'd cue it up.
Yeah, I just switched it back
Oh, that's why I don't have any.
for the next item.
That makes sense.
Let's do Dan next. That'd be all right. He can get his stuff up right now.
You'd be happy about that too? Okay.
I'll need that back. But
Gotta learn from the.
Sam doesn't let the grass grow.
No internet. Do we not have internet?
Let me get you to sign this agreement too, Mike. I'll get you to sign this agreement. Well, you can go back to that desk.
I think I left my right stick up there.
It is connected.
We may not have a presentation.
But for Tim to sign.
She,
Go ahead, Mike. I'll never get you a signature on this. Is the RPO.
Okay.
it'll be the right screen. Or just pull it.
I think he wants to go on his next. Is that all right? 10?
Dan?
Not 10, 9.
Oh, Rich.
No,
9.
Dan.
Dan. That's fine. I guess.
Unless.
Is Dan
he
in a
wants
hurry
do
to-
his.
No, he's just trying to get.
No, I just had to
Okay.
cue something up, so I was
I
queuing
gotcha.
it up.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yep.
I can go dead last if you want me to.
Do you want to?
Well, Preston's got a meeting with the Forest Service in about 45 minutes. I'd like to go to.
I'd like you to be here when we
Let him go then.
corner preservation. I'd like you to be here for that.
Well, then you go first, and I'll be right back.
Well,
That's
do,
okay with the
do we need to?
Let's-
We can bump you up to now
let's-
and then
let's
get
bump
Rich.
him
So
up to
that
now.
let's do that. Sure. we're gonna
We're gonna
have
go
Dan next.
to 9.
Dan's presentation.
So you're gonna be my scroll wheel.
Hot.
But I can't scroll down a webpage with that, can I?
Oh, no, sorry. It's not up to your usual standard.
Just gotta figure out, we gotta get internet to this little guy here.
All right, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 9. Ordinance 2021-7, establishing a public land corner preservation fund per Utah Code annotated 17-23-19. Turn the time over to our auditor, Dan Jessen.
Okay, and I hope to share this time also with our county recorder / surveyor, Carrie, who's here, and our county engineer. So ultimately what we're looking to do today will be a ordinance which will have an accounting function, but that's just the tail of the dog. The reality is what the surveyor and the engineers do. So just a little bit of a background. So you're all familiar with section corners, right? Does everybody know what a section corner is? And it is basically it's the foundation for all descriptions of private property and public lands boundaries in Utah. Every property description, if you get into the legal stuff, will start with the reference to the section corner. And
I
it
spent
is
half my life looking for those things.
right
With my dad.
Yes, absolutely. Us too.
So it's actually the county's responsibility to preserve those as we hold the legal.
Well, and I think it's important to note that in surveying there's evidence and then there's evidence and then there's evidence, and a properly monumented section or township corner can be what they call prima facie evidence, and I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but that no, I nodded at Richard because I'm kind of stealing his thunder a little bit, but these properly monumented corners can become prima facie evidence, which means they can stand alone when a surveyor is trying to establish a basis of bearing, and that's a very important thing, and Iron County is lacking.
Yeah. And GPS is only as good as it is for what we do, but at the end of the day, everything comes back to these section corners for legality. In 2015, SB 264 created the Survey Monument Preservation Act. This was the Utah legislature. They appropriated one-time funding. They came back in 2018 and appropriated funding again. John, if you'll go ahead and scroll down. And in that'll highlight. So this just talks about the section corners determining boundaries. Go ahead and scroll down. This is a really cool website that they have. Oh, right up a little bit. So there's a lot of things that happen that threaten these section corners, well-meaning things, but here's just one example. Here's a Forest Service out chaining after a forest fire. Those guys get cruising along in cats or whatnot. And it could be, a lot of things, whether it just is erosion or even blowing sand or whatever the case may be, floods. And these vital corners can be destroyed or covered up or eroded away or something. If you scroll down, urban development, of course, this is kind of a cool thing. You can drag it back and forth, and you can see how as development rolls out, how the landscape really changes, and that can impact these section corners as well. If you scroll down a little bit more, talks about the state of Utah grant programs as they have for providing monies for this. Now, I want you to scroll down a little bit, and you can see actually what's happened in Iron County with preservation. With some of this, it's kind of flexing on the grant program. So scroll down, and you're gonna get in. You're gonna see different stuff till you get to Iron County. So we have in the past actually been awarded funds. I believe it was something that Steve, the former county engineer, applied for some of this, and this is again part of the background. Steve was a county engineer, but he was also a deputy recorder under Carrie, and he acted as the county surveyor, as he was a licensed surveyor. Now Steve has left, that surveyor duty is actually, some counties actually have an elected surveyor. We technically in Iron County have a recorder surveyor, which is Miss Carey. And we need to have not only the discussion about this establishing a public land corner preservation fund, but we also need to have a budget discussion next time we do budget hearings, because we're kind of functionally changing a little bit how we deal with the surveying and the monument preservation and so forth. As it stands right now, and this was again when we had Steve here, in the engineer's budget, we had a line item called monumentation/engineering, and we set aside a certain amount of money to do some of this monument preservation work. Steve had actually applied in the past and gotten some grant money. One of the things that we have to certify that we have in place in order to apply for some of these funds is we need to have a public land corner preservation fund. We haven't had one of those up until this point, and Carrie would like to apply for these funds, and she says, well, maybe I'll just apply next year. And I said, no, let's hurry and put this into place. It's not that difficult from an accounting perspective. We literally create a trust liability type fund, and basically the mechanics of how it works, every time that a survey, what type of transaction is it, Carrie? Every time a survey is filed in the recorder's office, the fee that we charge goes into this fund. It's set aside, and it has to be spent basically on the maintenance of these monuments. So step one is to establish the fund by ordinance. Step two is to collect a fee. We've been collecting a fee, but we don't have the fund. So we did have a budget item that was kind of dedicated to this, but that's not enough. We actually need to have a fund established. So have I walked all over this? Have I done my best as an accountant to describe? Is there anything else that you would like to say or share or?
Well, I would just add the fact.
Richard, could you come up to the microphone?
Those brass caps are nice, but Iron County is full of stones that have an X on them and a date that were created a century ago. And those are things we're also replacing. In fact, I saw one of those stones recently up on the far end of, I still call it Right Hand Road. I know it turns into something else. But up there by the Schertz Ranch, there's a stone, and it's got an X in it, and it's got an arrow that sort of points to the north, and the thing isn't big enough. It's about this big, and anybody with a pickup truck and two boys could haul it away as a fun thing to have at home. So I just want to throw that out. Iron County's still full of those stone monuments.
The brass cap would probably be a good thing to replace.
Well,
those
the brass
with.
caps are this long.
And they go into the ground.
They go in the ground, and they've got a piece of rebar across the bottom, and the goal is to prevent them from easily being removed. But I seriously worry that hikers and others will say, wow, that'll look nice on my mantle.
So just a question, Dan, you brought up a good point, like the two cats that were chaining. I mean, are they required to, that's really interesting. Are they required to go out and locate section corners before they do that so they don't destroy them? I mean, it's
Kind of falls under stuff happens. I think stuff happens. I think that I don't know what the
legally they
BLM
probably
policy,
are.
Yeah, but I mean,
should be easy to tear one of those out with the chain, right?
Yeah.
Really easy.
And I think that's all a part of coordinating and with our fire guys and stuff like that.
I think that speaks to the challenges that surveyors face.
And the brass caps are flush, whereas the stones aren't always. Yeah. And in fact, the brass cap says that it is against the law to move this. So
yeah, right on it.
Who it is, whether it's the Forest Service or us or a hiker.
They're not flush to the ground. They stick up.
No, not necessarily. In fact, I had a surveyor friend of mine that back in the East, he didn't trust anybody. He buried them about 8 inches. Everything he ever set was buried 8 inches.
Oh, that'd be miserable.
It could be, but if you knew where it was, you could find it with a metal detector.
Yeah. Not so easy for farmers and
Find 'em
ranchers.
with those.
Dave Clark here, who's a surveyor, he may be able to answer your question.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very
That'd
good.
be great.
So Dave Clark, I work for Platt and Platt, have for about 30 years. That picture, I set those monuments that were all in purple. We applied for, or we put a proposal in for the, to do those surveys. We've done several of those township surveys for the county. And so in the last 30 years, I've probably set 1,000 of those county brass caps. So as far as the chaining goes, that's on Forest and
BLM mostly.
which they have jurisdiction over those corners. The county has jurisdiction over all private corners within the county. And so that's where the trade-off is sometimes the BLM doesn't care. And it's a shame because especially where they border private, we have to utilize their corners when we're bringing it in a corner. And like John said about the prima facie, is everything goes back to that original corner in its original location. And so as a surveyor, we are legally obligated to reestablish that corner where it was, not just where we hope it was. I mean, that's ultimately what you use evidence and evidence and evidence to try to reestablish that if it gets taken out. So those section corners are vitally important. And especially as things develop and people like the BLM rail them out, or somebody comes and puts a road over the top.
But they do that
of it.
railing on private a lot too. So, I mean, that would be.
And if they're doing it on private, they should know where the section, they should know where they're at to avoid doing that. And
We put inner tubes or tires, old tires, we put over that so that it kind of marks it a little better so you don't run over them. Yeah.
Dad and I, when
On
I was
our
a kid,
place.
just a funny story. We went to a really remote area in Moab. He was a surveyor, and it took us all day to find this really remote section corner. It took us a long time to get up there, and we got home that night. He'd sharpened a lath with his pocket knife, and we got home. He said, "Dang, I left my knife sitting there." We were there 10 years later, and that pocket knife was still sitting there. Of course, it was rusty, but just that's how remote these are, and how often little people go to them, right? Sometimes kind of funny.
True. Thank you for that.
That was a good explanation. Thanks.
So this
Very good.
this establishes, if you read the law, the Utah law, it says the county legislative body may establish by ordinance a fund known as the Public Land Corner Preservation Fund. Money generated for the fund shall be used only to pay expenses incurred and authorized by the county surveyor in the establishment, reestablishment, and maintenance of corners of government surveys pursuant to the powers and duties. And then the second part of that law says the county legislative body may by ordinance establish a fee schedule for filing maps in the county surveyor's office of surveys filed under section such and such. All money collected under this subsection shall be deposited with the county treasurer to be credited to the Public Land Corner Preservation Fund. So right now, just so everybody knows, the cost to file one of these is $20, right? And $20 very slowly builds up in this fund. So we're just establishing the mechanics of how that works. Whenever that happens, we will divert that money. It'll go into this fund, and then when oftentimes, as Carrie explained it to me, an engineer is going out to do something anyways, and they could say, we'll go ahead and reestablish that or do maintenance on it while we're out there if you want, and she can go ahead and authorize that and pay them $1,000, $2,000, or something like that to go ahead and do some work on that while they're out there. That's kind of how the day-to-day, year-to-year working of this fund would work. Additionally, we have that $10,000 that we appropriate. And I'm not sure whether that is dedicated to just monumentation. Like I said, the budget line item says monumentation / engineering. So I don't know how Steve in the past, I don't think he just only used that budget line item for monumentation stuff, or if he also used it for some subcontracting of other engineering.
Rich?
And the question is do we need to establish a budget in the recorder's office for the expense of this? And do we need to also keep some money in the engineer's budget for that purpose as well. Any comment?
So this spring, we actually did this out here in Parowan. We reestablished 3 corners. A solar company was coming in and doing some work. And I used specifically that fund for that purpose. I've not used it for any other engineering, but I have other funds, I think, for engineering consultations and stuff like that. So I'm not sure that I need
Contracted services.
contracted services. Thanks. I don't think I need any of that 10,000 because I saw it specifically for monumentation, and that's all I've done. But we have done that this spring. I felt it was in the interest of the county to get 3 monuments done at the same time on the piggyback on a solar project.
So I think what we'll recommend is just move that item to the recorder's office.
Reed's right behind you.
And that's actually money that we will go.
I was just simply going to explain that I do know that it was used in the past for other things besides monumentation. It was used for doing the data with SUU and some of the parcel data stuff that they were updating. And now you have other money for that, or you have.
Some of that grant money was being used for that.
Right, it was, and I think it's a good idea to just leave it, because without the fund before, the fees just went into the general fund, and so there wasn't as good a tracking. And so now I think it is wise to establish the fund and leave the 10,000 in there for monumentation and use other funds to do the parcel layers. So I think that is a good reason to not use that anymore for that.
So we'll still retain money in there to put towards monumentation. We'll just move it to the recorder's budget.
Well,
So anyways, and this is a conversation we can have. I just wanted to set the stage so when we do talk, we're having our budget hearings, so we remember this conversation. Sorry, John.
I was going to say, the good thing is, as an established fund, you'll be able to work that through each budget cycle.
Yeah, and these monies, as we set them aside, when we spend them, they will come back out of this account. Any money we set aside in a budget is actually going to be additional money, because this money will sit there, and as we use it up, it will come back out. We will not have to provide additional money unless we don't have enough. And then really the argument should be, is $20 the right fee?
So I will say, in conversations with some of my surveyor friends about this, Iron County is far behind our smaller neighbors, Garfield and Beaver and Millard. They actually set aside general fund money as well as some of these other sources of funding, and have done a great job with their monumentation, and it helps with the development of the land. But it has to be, in that regard, it would have to be a priority, not just of redirecting fees that are collected, but an actual,
Do the surveyors know that we will pay them to put those in for us? Or have we got any type of a program with that type of a?
I don't know how we've been doing it, so
Oh,
it's not.
So the way I became aware was the surveyor for the solar company began their survey and said, "Hey, we don't have any of this, these section
Marker.
corners and quarter," and he was like,
what do we do?
"Well, the county's responsible. Where are they?" And I said, "You want to help us reestablish them?" And in fact, on the losing of them, one of them was very difficult. I have to look and see what we actually did, because it was at a pivot.
Oh,
Yeah, it
wow.
was within 20 feet or 10 feet of a pivot. And that's a hard one to establish and say, yeah, make that one flush. I told him to bury that one. Sorry, it is down about a foot.
Because it'll be
Yeah,
plowed.
plowed
Yeah.
under all the time. But anyway, so we become aware, and I think, Carrie, you'll become aware when surveyors start to ask, where are these monuments? Because we're doing these projects. So it's more of them asking us than we having a general, hey, do you want to go out and establish? Now, with Platt and Platt, we've done Steve tried to do kind of a progressive
Ongoing.
reestablishment. Yeah.
Mhm.
I will say
Gotta-
too, you know, visiting with like Doug Grimshaw, he mentioned that he's done work like this before he retired for like 20 years for Beaver County, and they, I mean, it was a long, dedicated effort on the part of the county commissioners, and it's just not something we've done yet. And he said, ironically, Washington and Iron have worse monumentation than these smaller neighbors that don't have the same resources. Sorry, Dave.
No, I didn't want to interrupt. So, historically, Platt & Platt was the county engineer. Okay, this was many years ago before the county hired Steve full-time.
Yeah.
And they had a line item for monumentation. And so Platt & Platt, we did lots of monumentation over the years. And the way we monumented corners was we would look at what the filed surveys were, and someone says, reestablish quarter corner set rebar. And we'd go out to that rebar position and we would dig it up and put a monument there. And we did that for hundreds and hundreds of monuments over the years. And so we have done that a little bit with Steve, and he was very careful about giving it to us to do because of the brother
The
situation.
integrity,
Yeah,
and
and
the
so every
integrity of
time,
it, yeah.
every time he did that, every time he gave us a contract to go do more monuments, he would present it to the commission first. And he would make sure that there was no conflict. We had to bid on it like everybody else, and then we would go do some monuments. So there was money that we would receive to go set these monuments, and some of those were kind of piece by piece, like Rich talked about, where we'd go do 3 here or 4 there or 5 there. The large scale ones were grant money from the AGRC, where we would go out and do the whole township. Doug did Township 35 South, Range 11 West. He did those 36 sections in 2007. And that has been one of the best resources as the county has developed out in the area. Like the Estates at Sunrise, that's in that area. Peak View's in that area. Rancho Bonita's in that area. All, you know, that's
Probably made it a lot easier.
well,
when
it
you
made
went
it
to
made it
survey.
so much easier, and then it made it very consistent from this subdivision to that subdivision to that subdivision. Everybody was on the same basis of bearings, and it was really helpful. And so we, one of our contracts, we never did a 36 section one, but we probably did 6 different contracts with the county to do a half a township. And so I've got a map in my office where I've colored in each monument that we've done or Doug did or that we know is like a GLO brass cap that they set. See, Richard talked about the stone monuments. Before 1909, everything was surveyed with stone monuments. After 1909, the GLO, which is the General Land Office, which later became the BLM, started using brass cap monuments. And those are much easier to retrace because everybody knows what that is. When you see a pile of rocks, nobody knows what that is, and sometimes the way that they would mark those rocks is pretty obscure, and it's difficult to identify the actual stone that is intended to be the corner.
And the tree markings. The tree
the
markings.
blazing in the tree,
Uh-huh,
the trees
we've
die, the
seen a
trees
lot of
get
those.
logged,
Yes, yes.
the blaze grows over.
Yep.
Yeah, they're hard to identify.
Yeah.
So, and I know we don't got too much more time on this, but again, at budget time, we're at a pivot point. We're switching. We're you know, the recorder's office is taking back over the surveyor stuff. This is one of the conversations. Do we actually maybe continue to have like a passive, reactive role, or do we want to actually allocate some money and try to tick off so many each year and hire an engineer? My question is, do you think that there's appetite for private engineers to do so many a year for the county? Are they too busy that would be the type of thing that nobody would want to do? You know what I'm saying? So that's something that we ought to consider when we.
I think it's important. I mean, I think it's really important, and I think
Yeah.
that I don't think they'd complain too much about the fee that we assess because it's going to improve their work down the road.
Well, I mean,
section
if
corner.
you have accuracy, I mean, you're avoiding lawsuits. I mean, just think of the multiplying effect of good, accurate corners.
I think Beaver County, Doug was saying, I think they dedicated about $20,000 a year to that, in addition to the fees they collected. But that was general fund money, and that's kind of a different discussion because now you're using general fund money to maybe benefit a smaller group of people, even though it really does benefit everyone.
Benefits everybody.
Yeah, and that's the argument to
I'd
make.
argue that.
Well, it does, but you want to be careful not to have, general fund money benefit a small group of people, which I think your point's well taken. But
Everybody, and the second point is, it is the county surveyor's responsibility to do it.
right,
It just is.
which is funded through the general fund. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Allergic.
I was just going to reiterate what she
Sorry.
said, what Carrie was saying. In fact, I would like to see us probably do as was done several years ago, just a whole township at a time and start putting that in the budget each year, whether that's $20 or $25 or $30,000, so that we can start to spread out from the populated area. We probably, unfortunately, will not go to the northwest point of the county and start there, but to put into the budget that we are going to start targeting townships and
Right.
just do all 36 and start getting bids for the whole township.
Well, and go ahead, sir.
How long has that fee been $20, Carrie? Sorry, you're going to have to come up now.
So I really don't know because
It's always
been
that
done
you
in
know.
Steve's office until
Oh,
now.
oh.
Like
Since
starting
1986.
July.
1986.
Well, you had
I
to
think
file
we need
them,
a.
but the fee hasn't been $20, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, has it? Yeah. So
That would help us, if
I
we
wonder,
could.
Dave, anecdotally, is that fee the same in other counties? Do you know off the top of your head?
That's kind of a general fee.
Okay.
Most counties that we deal with I can't remember which county it is. One county that we deal with is $10, but I think Kane and Garfield and
So we're in line. With
we're
it.
in line. $20 is St. George or Washington County's $20.
I'm going to interrupt that because that's irrelevant.
Oh,
And I
sorry.
mean that in all the nicest way. We're actually being pushed really hard by the state auditor to review all of our fees. A fee should pay for what it does.
That's what I'm saying.
It should
That's
be.
the reason why. I
and
brought
so what
it
somebody
up.
else does really doesn't matter. Is what is the cost to preserve that, divided out by the time frame and so forth. So we actually really need to review all of our fees on a regular basis, and we need to look at the cost of that thing, and then divide it out by the time frame, and to get the amount of the fee. So I'm not trying to be crass. I'm actually saying I'm really glad you brought up, is $20 appropriate? I don't know, but if we're subsidizing a whole bunch, then it's not enough. Actually, it should cover the cost of doing it as we define it over 10 years, over 20 years, or what? I don't know.
when you're talking about what the fund is for, is to establish and maintain them. The truth is, you'll be doing it forever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something that you can say,
once off.
this is going to cost this much money, and we'll spread it out between 10 years.
So I guess the approach would be how much do we need? How much can we do in a year? What's appropriate to do in a year? And how many transactions are there going to be in a year? And divide that out and come up with an amount. That would be the logical approach to that. But we can talk about it more in depth. Like I said, we already do have the fee. We do not have the fund set aside, and we need to have the fund set aside so that we can go after grant dollars. So
Those are all great discussions for a budget discussion, aren't they?
Any other? Let's have a motion if there's no other questions or comments.
I'd move for approval of the ordinance 2021-7, establishing a public land corner preservation fund per UCA 17-23-19.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is approved. Rich, number 10.
First thing I'm going to do is turn my phone down.
Uh-oh.
I don't think I've stood at this podium that my phone hasn't rang.
His wife always calls him during commission meeting.
She does. Let me get this.
Cost you $10 when that happens, right?
Well, that's cheaper than $4.
The judge just takes your phone away and yells at you. Sure.
Uh-oh, did we take the wrong one? Oh, 2.
Thought I had it. Good.
So over the past several months, a number of folks have come in for encroachment permits, and we typically grant those. We ask what they're going to do and what's going. By the way, I'm sorry I was late. I was actually up in Paraguna, where they had some extreme flooding last night, down Center Street. Jumped over the waterway there, flooded down Center Street, and up at the head of the canyon where the Paraguna power plant is, knocked in the doors. That knocked.
Filled it full of mud.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's it looks like one house might have received flooding, and that's on Center Street, just before lost my train of what it is. It's the culvert under the road there on Center Street. Jumped out of the banks, created quite a mess. The road crew's up there working now on the Canyon Road.
Good.
And
Destroy their hydroelectric. Their whole thing is ruined.
I wouldn't doubt it. I have pictures. The doors are knocked in. The Jersey barriers there across the creek are tipped over and down into the creek. So it's quite an event last night. And NRCS, I've already spoken to them this morning about getting funding and working on
Flood control.
Flood control, and there is budgets for after events, budget money. Anyway, so sorry about that. One other personal item I think you should be aware of. Curtis got COVID and has been out all of last week. He sounded terrible Thursday. He sounded much better today. He was supposed to go back and get retested to see how he's doing, both him and his wife. And so we're thinking about them and checking on them. But he said he felt much better today. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have him for some of this flooding last week. But he was out. All right, back to my
There you
point.
go, Paul.
Back to this, and I'm trying to catch up with Preston too. I don't know if you're aware that Pinto Road was washed out at about 7 points, and there is an agreement with the Forest Service, but it expired this spring, and so I'm hoping to get out there and discuss the culvert situation on Pinto Road. Anyway, so back to what we're talking about here, which is the encroachment. So in the past, I've given you both. I've given you the original. I've given you the changes I've made. People come into the county. They want to either put in a water line, sewer line, maybe attached to power or some other subsurface utility, and so they need an encroachment. And the purpose of the bonding is so that the county can, if the company goes away, if the builder goes away, if the landowner just doesn't fulfill their obligations to restore the easement and the right-of-way back to its original condition, we'll go in and do it. So we take their bond, we hold it for a year after they're done to make sure that they've done it properly, that there's no settlement or other things that occur. But what I've noticed is we don't have any leverage over them doing it in a timely manner. So sometimes they'll cut asphalt or pavement or chip seal, and it may be weeks. In fact, I called one fellow twice out on 2300 because every time I drove over there it was a pothole, and it's finally been fixed.
So doesn't the county require a bond?
We do have a bond.
And you hold it for so long until you prove that it's been compacted well, and then you get the bond. But we do that?
Yes, we do, for 12 months. Okay. But we don't have anything that makes them do it this week in a timely manner.
I see. Okay.
So this pothole out here, which Preston made me aware of, was almost 2 months before it finally got patched. So there's two issues here. One is timeliness. The other is I've noticed that a lot of these encroachments, some of them disturb asphalt or chip seal. Some of them don't. And it's my opinion that those that don't disturb any pavement shouldn't pay as high a fee. it's much easier to put dirt back.
I would agree
It's
with
much
Gravel.
simpler.
Mhm.
The other is that when they do disturb pavement, it's much more expensive, and it needs to be happening in a much earnest way. So what I'm proposing is that we increase the bond for disturbance of chip seal or pavement. I've asked Preston what it would cost to mobilize his crew to go out and repair chip seal or asphalt, and he says it's about $1,500 just to mobilize them.
Now, when it's a chip seal road versus asphalt, can you patch a chip seal road with asphalt? Is that okay?
Sure.
Does he allow that? Okay.
Sure, that's fine. So he said he felt that it would be about $1,500 to mobilize the crew to go out and do one of those minor repairs. So I'm recommending that we charge $10 a square foot if they're disturbing chip seal, and that's their whole project. It's just $10. It's too complicated to say, 6 feet of asphalt and 100 feet of dirt.
I just did a sewer lateral for my son last year, and I think that's what Cedar City, they just did a square footage.
They do.
And then we compacted, filled it in. We let the cars drive on it for a couple weeks to help, but we kept it level, and then we hired, I think it was Spencer Asphalt, to come in and pave it. So.
Yeah.
And then we'll wait. I think it might be 15 months with Cedar City, and then we wait that long to get our deposit
Well,
back.
our clock doesn't start until they're done. So if they come in and get an application and a permission to do so, they might not start for several weeks. So it could be. And I know Cedar City charges a flat 10. So I recommend 10 feet if they disturb asphalt, with a minimum of $1,750. Just a minimum, just in case we ever have to mobilize our crew. Now, if they don't disturb asphalt or chip seal, I'm recommending that the fee be $6 a square foot. It's a different cost, but that it be a minimum of $750, because Preston told me that it would be a minimum of $500 to mobilize the crew just to go out and do just about anything. By the time you load up the equipment, haul it out there, got the guys, all that. And so we're not looking to make any money. And in fact, we aren't. If they do what they're supposed to do, we don't get involved. And so I am not asking that we increase what remains non-refundable, which is 10 cents per square foot. And so I'm not recommending that we change that at all. That's more of an administrative fee and stuff like that. But if you'll flip the page, I've added some leverage for the county to see that it's done in a timely manner. And that is that I recommend it's that if they disturb asphalt, that within 24 hours they either hot or cold patch it. And that after 24 hours or after 72 hours, the road crew may go out and take care of it, and they're going to lose it out of their bond. Because I'm driving down some of the more heavily traveled road, and just putting in road base and driving over it, it kicks out of there, depending on how heavily traveled it is. It'll be a pothole again in 4 or 5 days. And some of them aren't very far out into the road. They might only be an incursion of a foot or so, and the one I'm talking about on 23rd was 5 feet out into the road, so everybody was hitting it. And it's a sharp edge. It's a sharp edge when you cut asphalt or chip seal. So, and I've used the word may, meaning that it's at our discretion whether we will go out and fix it. But if we have to, right now, I can't do anything except call them and say, hey, your incursion is a bit of a hazard. Can you go out there and flatten it out? Because the way our current method is, they have a year to bring it back. That's a heck of a long time for them to leave a road bumpy or something like that. And I mean they as in the contractor or the owner or the builder. So these are the 3 changes I'm asking for. Is 1, an increase in the fee for cutting into disturbing chip seal or asphalt. A lessening of the fee if there is no disturbance per square foot. Again, I want to emphasize we're not keeping any more of the fee than we always have, which is 10 cents per square foot. And last is putting a timeline on those repairs and saying, hey, you know you're cutting the road, go out there with some cold patch if that's the way it's going to be.
And what's that timeline going to be, real quick?
24 hours. They should be able to fill the road. What are you thinking, Commissioner?
Well, like Spencer Asphalt, when I did that one last year, I think that's too fast because, you know, they've got to schedule it in. I wouldn't have wanted to cold patch
It helps
that.
for it to be driven on
A little
too. It might help with the settling, because then if it settles over that year, that's why you keep it, because if it settles, then we have to.
I think
2
maybe
weeks.
2 weeks, because I don't think he could even do it for a week.
Well, as I say in here, the disturbance shall be hot patched or cold patched. Now you can cold
Within
patch the
24
road
hours? I think that's too.
right away, and then you're going to come back and hot patch it.
But then you got to
within
dig
year.
the cold patch out. I don't think that's reason. I think we ought to give them more time personally. But.
Well, I'll take your recommendation if that's what the commission feels. At least let's not have it 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh no.
Yeah,
no,
2
no.
weeks, I think.
I think a couple weeks, just so you can get in their schedule. Doesn't that seem reasonable? Or?
It does. It does. And if we are able to let the utility companies know, like the gas company, they typically, this was the case on the one on 23rd. It was the gas company that needed to come back and do it, and they waited nearly 2 weeks, and they said, well, we can't quite get in our schedule. There was no pressure on them to get it in their schedule.
Yeah.
Well, that would put pressure on them. I have no problems with.
I think it's dirt. Yeah, 24 hours is reasonable, but when you have to, and maybe those guys do their own.
Well, as it says, only we don't care about the borrow pit so much.
Right.
If they have if they go a little longer to get that all reseeded and all that, it's not where the travel way is. It's the travel way that bothers me the most.
Is there any thought of having not a hot patch or a cold patch, or even a slurry, but just to have somebody keep an eye on that so it doesn't turn into a giant pothole on a busier road in that 2 week period? I just happened to run into that on my regular commute, and it was in town, but it was like, swerve out of the way of that thing.
I'm thinking of 200 West, the one that I did for Blake,
Uh-huh.
and it was about 2 weeks, and it didn't have a problem.
Didn't get too bad?
Not saying it wouldn't.
I just
but
had
it's
one
not
on my
as-
way
there's
home
not
that
as
turned
much
into a
traffic.
giant pothole, but maybe it was more traffic.
Yeah, there's not as much traffic on 200 West.
Well, and that's what I
don't
guess
know
for me, I was thinking
perspective.
that if you're going out to cut it, and you know you're cutting asphalt, and that was the last thing I wrote, is that if the asking for the permission, you go out and find out you've got to disturb asphalt, call the engineers department, because right now we have nothing. They'll come in and they'll say, hey, we got to have this encroachment agreement, and I'll say, does it disturb asphalt? Well, we don't think so. Then I go out and find out, in order to do the job, they had to, because the utility was actually on the edge or in the under the asphalt.
So
So I want notification.
I'm just thinking back when I did it. They required me to do a traffic plan, so I had to call, what's the company?
Yeah.
Anyway, they came and put up the barriers and barricades and stuff. Just, there was a procedure where you had to follow all the steps, and I thought it was well thought out. Do we require that to?
No,
make
we
it
don't
do-
have a traffic plan when they do
Should
it.
we consider that maybe?
We can certainly discuss it.
Maybe look at Cedar Cities and see if we want to add that in.
Okay.
Just to make sure the traffic control's taken care of, because it was a good thing I did. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that necessarily, but it was a good thing we did it.
Well, what we could do here is we can discuss that, and I can bring it back to an August meeting with some of that. But right now, we're still getting a number of requests. So with your permission, I would like to change this to 2 weeks,
Okay.
and that the road department may come in after 3 weeks. And that would be the immediate change then, and then I can add traffic control and other things if we think it's necessary. I like to confer with Preston about anything that has anything to do with roads.
Does that sound reasonable to you guys? 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean,
So I'll make that amendment right
got
now
my
with your
wheelhouse.
approval. Pardon me?
I'll just say this is way out of my wheelhouse. If you've got,
Well, you drive a lot of roads, Commissioner. I would think you
and
would
I
know.
don't like, I don't like the potholes, but I don't know what I don't know what a reasonable time to fix those. So I'll defer.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, I was just thinking if I know I'm going to be cutting or disturbing asphalt, I would put cold pack on the truck and just be ready to do it. But as you say, it is not, it's not going to settle. But I would have put a tamper on the truck too, and made sure when I put it back, I tamped it down, filled it, and
It'd
then
be
put
the
cool.
easiest to do it
We
all
did
at
because you don't
once,
get to
obviously.
you don't get your deposit back if you don't. So
Right, and that was what I was thinking. I was thinking to myself, I was thinking if I was a company doing this, I would want to only come the one time and then come back and check it and make the final repair, rather than saying, yeah, we're going to cut it, we're going to do it, we're going to install it, and then we'll be back in a couple of weeks. That doesn't sound very cost effective to me, but I it's probably typical of what they do, especially since it's the utilities often doing this, and they're not coming back to, they're hiring somebody else to patch the
Come in
road.
and patch, yeah.
And if that's the case, yeah, that makes sense that we go for a 2-week and a 3-week interval.
I think that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So with your permission, if you want to consider this change in both fees and timing, with any amendments.
It sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, that's your
Ready for a
motion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the fee was, tell me that it was $10 a square foot, right?
If asphalt
If it was
is
asphalt,
disturbed.
and $6 with dirt, right, or road base.
Yes.
Was that
Without.
1750 minimum new number?
That
Is that a
is,
change that-
yeah, because sometimes we won't reach 1750
Okay,
for
so
the disturbance. They might come in and say to us, John, that we have, we're going to disturb 10 by 30. Well, that's only, okay, let me rephrase that. We're only going to do a 10 by 10 cut, or we're just doing a small,
So 100 square feet, $1,000.
we
Yeah.
can't mobilize for $1,000.
Well, the reason I was asking was because they're getting ready to make a motion, and it was this, if the 1750 was a new part of it, I should.
Yes, because
Part of
we
the
never
minimum.
had a minimum.
And
We
was
just
that-
said whatever it was, and sometimes we get an $800 check.
So was
Was the
this
750 minimum on?
1750 minimum cost? Is that what we're coming?
That no
So
bond
$10 a square foot, but a minimum of 1,750
for the bond.
for the bond.
No bond will be less than these two numbers. In the past, we've got bonds as little as $300 or $400.
Right.
We couldn't mobilize the road crew for $300.
So a minimum of 1750 in asphalt with $10 per square foot, and then a minimum of 750 on non-asphalt at $6 per square foot. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't
Okay.
mean
No, that's good. That's good clarification. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the Iron County right-of-way encroachment permit application and indemnification policy with the changes of allowing a contractor or whoever does the work to have that repaired. If it's a chip seal or asphalt, that they'll have 2 weeks to repair that. If it goes up to 3 weeks, then we have the rights as a road crew to go in and do that work ourselves. The fees would be $10 for the asphalt or chip seal per square foot. The dirt or road base would be $6 a square foot, and then the total maximum total would on the asphalt or chip seal would be $1,750, and then on
Not
the
maximum, minimum.
or minimum would be minimum $1,750, and then the minimum on the road base road break would be $750.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
I'd second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I'll get that, I'll ask Jared to put that on the website as soon as possible, and we'll make it effective as soon as he can get it on the website. I don't want to make it effective. Of course, we can, now that you've done it. If they bring in the old form, we'll just give them the new form.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Commissioners.
thank
I'll
you.
see if I can
You.
go catch Preston.
Okay.
Somebody waiting for
I just
number
need to
8.
grab that. But can I just take a personal privilege for just a second?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Since I need to run, and I see Mike's still here, I just wanted to tell him, since he's a short timer, how much we've appreciated him publicly for all the work he's done with the Planning Commission and in our department, and the Planning Department, and the asset that he's been to the county for so many years. We will miss him greatly. It's nice to have Sam coming up, but we're going to miss Mike, and we really appreciated all of his expertise and how well he worked and how good he was to work with and his knowledge. So thank you, Mike.
Absolutely. And that
Absolutely.
Bunch,
Us
that was
too.
something that we was going to talk about. So thank you.
He is someone with whom I've been in the trenches many times over the years, and I've drawn on his wisdom a lot.
We're going to miss him.
And he's a nice man.
No, he's
Darn it,
mean.
people
That's
like
why we
him.
like
He's a
him.
good boy. We'll miss Mike. All right.
Is somebody waiting for number 8?
I don't know. That's what was going to be my question. Have we got?
Yes,
Yeah.
Right. We're looking. Is somebody here to speak for number 8?
that will probably need to be in a closed session and probably done remotely for that part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Maybe closed. Yes, I didn't read all the way to the bottom.
Sorry. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it doesn't
I was looking to
necessarily
see. I was
have
like,
to be,
if somebody's waiting, let's do number 8. But let's go to number 6. 6 is Resolution 2021-4, opposing the nomination of Tracy Stone Manning as Director of the Bureau of Land Management and urging the U.S. Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee and full Senate body to reject this nomination.
So that's me.
Okay.
So we had a conference call last Friday, and I had been when Senator Lee came and visited with us. I believe he mentioned that he was concerned about this nomination, and they were in talking about her nomination and concern. So in this meeting with UAC, Utah Association of Counties, it was the same concern, and as the state, we approved to do a resolution as all the counties in the state, and they recommended that we do that as a county also, and send that out. And so they sent us one, and I'd like to read it into the minutes because there are some grave concerns about this woman. Iron County, Utah, Board of County Commissioners, Commission Resolution number 2021-4, opposing President Biden's nomination of Tracy Stone Manning as National Director of United States Bureau of Land Management, and urging the U.S. Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee and full Senate body to reject the nomination. Whereas President Joe Biden nominated Tracy Stone Manning to the National Director of the United States Bureau of Land Management. Whereas Stone Manning past and recent conduct and statements give rise to grave concerns that the BLM may be led by someone with ties to radical eco-terrorist activities. Whereas Stone Manning's background and ties are so troubling even for a former BLM director under President Obama, Robert Abbey publicly called on President Obama to withdraw Stone Manning's nomination, said Abbey. As a 30-year BLM career employee, I don't take her actions lightly, nor should anyone else. If Stone Manning participated in any aspect of planning, implementing, or cover-up in the spiking of trees, then she should not be confirmed. Whereas concerns over Stone Manning's nomination include, number 1, her alleged links to the 1989 eco-terrorist plot to spike Idaho trees, jamming 8 to 10 inch metal spikes into trees, which turned them into lethal projectiles, when each tree was processed for logging. Number 2, her admitted editing, retyping, and sending a troubling anonymous letter as part of that plot to the Forest Service. Excerpts include, and excuse me for her language, but the cells were marked as that no workers would be injured, and so that you a-holes know that they are spiked, and you bastards go to there anyway, and a lot of people should get hurt. Number 3, her alleged misleading the Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee on whether she was ever a target of the federal criminal investigation into the tree spiking plot. Ranking member Senate John Barrasso, Republican of Wyoming, said publicly, "It's clear that Ms. Stone Manning was intentionally trying to deceive the state committee on energy and natural resources. She told the committee she had not been the subject of an investigation and yet complained about being investigated in the press, and 15 members of the committee sent a letter to the president sharing their concerns and urging withdrawal of Stone Manning's nomination. 4, her accepting legal anonymity to keep from being prosecuted for the tree spiking plot in exchange for testimony against the plot's co-conspirators who were convicted and went to prison. Number 5, her long-standing outright opposition of livestock grazing and public lands. Number 6, her association with 1980, 1990, and 2000 radical advocacy groups like Earth First, who militantly oppose grazing and other multiple uses on public lands and expresses their views through extensive property damage and various violent acts. 7, her tweet last year, 2020, in support of her husband's 2018 Harper Magazine's article that radically declared the United States Forest Service should let houses in the near forest burn as a type of social contract, and perhaps the solution to houses in the interface is to let them burn, and perhaps the feds should commit themselves to refuse to send in the troops to any county that was not taken such measures. 8, her support for a Montana housing development project, followed by her alleged receiving a favorable loan, 6% interest, when the going rate was 11 from the developer of that project 2 years later. Number 9, her graduate thesis urging 2-child-only population control to protect the environment. We must breed fewer consuming humans. Number 10, her devising related advertisements such as one push the 2-child policy and call a picture cute baby an environmental hazard. Now, therefore, be it resolved as following. Number 1, Tracy Stone Manning is unfit and disqualified to lead the BLM and national director, nor to hold any office of responsibility in the United States government. Second, a national BLM director should never be under a cloud of suspicion over alleged ties to ecoterrorism, never be a record urged destruction of human dwellings in wildfire, never be widely suspected of misleading a Senate committee when exercising its oversight rules, never be linked to domestic population control policies and hideously limit children and call baby an environmental hazard. Never be under a cloud of allegedly taking financial favor for advocating a position on an environmental matter, and never be a repute wholesale opponent of public land grazing when the BLM's very creation was to manage the unreserved public domain of grazing districts and allotments, among other uses. Iron County, Utah, calls on the U.S. Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee and Senate body to reject the pending nomination of Tracy Stone Manning for Bureau of Land Management Director for the reasons stated above. 3, this is necessary to preserve the integrity and mission of the BLM. 4, this is necessary to uphold the faith and the trust the BLM must have with state and county leaders and the American in general. 5, protecting public land management from the blight of ecoterrorism, criminal conduct, and the specter of China-style population control are in risk if the Senate do not reject the nomination of Tracy Stone Manning. So you can see how devastating that would be to have a person like that in the BLM, not only for ranchers, but for all of us on the BLM. So I feel like we should.
And I just
I
just want to make a comment really quick. People may not realize how closely we as county government work with not only the BLM in our southern district of the BLM. We work very closely with them, but we also work closely with the BLM on a national level, and those relationships are critical to move, what we in the West and specifically in southern Utah, Marilyn is the expert on this because she has common sense and an experience in managing the range, and that input is so critical on a national level. And when we see nominations like this, that is going to take away that conduit of communication that we have, and it cannot go well for us.
When I was running, I had somebody ask me, I was talking, one of my platforms was public lands, and they said, that's federal. What do you have anything to do with that? And we definitely do. We need to be engaged with those. I believe in our county we have 64% public lands in our county, and it's a big concern. We definitely need to stay abreast of these type things and tell our opposition, because ultimately they come back to the counties and the state to get our feeling on these type of nominations, and this one would be devastating to our state.
As just who am I on the national front as the commissioner in Iron County? I've sat in the director of the BLM's office at the Department of Interior and had conversations about our county, and I don't know that could ever happen again under if this director were allowed to be the director.
We probably wouldn't have a voice at all.
So anyway, that's our relationship with them is critical, and I think this is not going anywhere.
Well, having worked most of my life in lumber, and I've planed boards with metal in them, and it's dangerous. It can kill you. I mean, it's and for somebody like that openly
did it on purpose.
Openly did it, and then says that she did on purpose and hopes somebody got hurt, is disgusting. And she shouldn't be anywhere near any office whatsoever, or appointed position. So was that a motion by reading that, or you need to make a motion?
I don't know.
If I were you, I would just move to approve what you read.
I would move for the resolution that I just read.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 8, we're going to potentially move into closed session. Let's go to personnel and finish up on personnel and non-delegated items prior to addressing number 8.
Good morning. All right, we start in the assessor's office. Brittany Fisher has completed all training and certifications to be promoted from a trainee to apprentice appraiser with corresponding pay effective July 25th, 2021. And I don't know if you wanted to.
Let's just do it. Last time we just did them all together.
Altogether? That's great.
Is that all right?
Yeah, you don't have much on there.
I know.
It's easy.
Yeah, this one's a short one compared to
is.
last time.
And then second is in the attorney's office, and I wanted to kind of reiterate Reed Erickson's statements and thank Mike Edwards for his service to Iron County and to our office specifically. I'm sad to see him go, but I'm also happy for his future. So thank you. Sam Woodall has been selected by Iron County Attorney Chad Dotson to be his Chief Deputy Civil, which is a backfill of an upcoming vacant position. Sam will be promoted from a Deputy Attorney 3 to a Chief Deputy Attorney Civil and will be moving from an hourly status to a salary exempt status with corresponding pay, effective date 7/25/2021.
You okay?
I think I just did the one.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So yes, I will move to approve the request for Brittany Fisher from an appraiser trainee to apprentice appraiser with corresponding pay effective July 21st, 2021. And in the Attorney Department, request for approval of Chief Deputy Attorney Civil Sam Woodall has been selected by Chad Dawson to fill the upcoming vacant position, and upon approval will move from hourly exempt salary status with corresponding pay. That'll take effect July 25th, 2021.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any prairie dog or board
I don't think
issues
so
for this one?
time, do we?
Danny
Anybody?
Stewart was gonna bring something to your attention before the next meeting. He talked to me this morning, but no action today.
Okay.
Oh, 1,700.
Yeah.
7,700, wasn't it?
Trying to what's that? Can't hear you.
That's like next, so sorry, I just barely thought.
Reed left. It would have been nice to have him. I'll ask Reed about it.
I wanna thank Mike too. He's been awesome to work with and really fun, and I'll be sad to see him go. But I'm really excited about Sam. I've worked with him just the last few weeks, and he's awesome. I'm excited to have him.
Sorry, Dan, could you come to the microphone?
It was he cut on Mike Louie.
Oh.
Really big.
Let the air out.
I'd like to thank Mike as well. He's been awesome to work with. Thank you, Mike.
Yes. All right.
Next
Entertain a motion
So
to.
before you do, I had a quick thought when I wrote this agenda item. This was a request, and in a nutshell, there's a solar company that's done some preliminary work, and their title search revealed that there were some mineral rights owned by Iron County under the land that they wanted to develop, and that's what the gentleman wants to discuss. And I think that's okay to disclose in public meeting. But Sam is quickly looking up the right subsection under which to move into closed meeting to discuss that, because there's the sale and purchase of real estate, but then there's also professional. And I just wanted to double check that before, because I did subsection, I believe, E.
I was reading that, and the solar company has to have all of the rights to be able to do their solar.
I don't know if
Right.
that's true. I don't know.
I think that was in the paperwork that was
Okay.
sent. Yeah, yeah. They can't. Probably because they don't want somebody to come in and mine or drill or whatever in the middle
Significant
of their
investment of their
yeah,
power plant.
exactly.
Right?
And I think that's probably the reason, and I can understand that.
I would feel that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry to throw a monkey wrench in that.
Oh.
I wanted to get it right.
We don't want to mess it up. No, if there's a separate subsection that addresses mineral rights or something besides just the sale of land.
Yeah, there's real property, and I believe mineral. I did do a little bit of research and found that mineral rights are real property.
They are.
And so I think you're safe, but there was one other that was like professional something or other. But I think the real property actually probably is a better fit. So would you?
Separate from it's separate
Would you feel
from the property.
that the way I've got it on the agenda is correct, Sam? Okay.
Okay.
So all that for nothing, but
Excellent. Well, I'd entertain a motion. Move into closed session.
I would move to approve to move into closed session about the sale of mineral rights associated with APN C-735 and C-735-1 40 net mineral acres
And the code.
and the code
right there at the end.
UCA 52-4-204 E.
The E was the important part.
That was the heartburn. Yeah.
That was the hard
That was the
part.
hard part.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We will move into closed session. We don't have anything else on the agenda, so after closed session, we will come out and adjourn.
much detail do I need to get into on the motion?
I would just say 625 for 40 acres for a total of 25.
Yeah, just the
Maybe
amount.
mention that the, you know, kind of just basically that the land was separated and Iron County ended up with the,
And 29?
yeah.
Okay.
And we're rolling.
Okay, we're back from closed session, addressing item number 8. I believe we can call for a motion. That motion will kind of
Explain it.
describe what, explain the situation.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to sell the mineral rights associated with APN number C-735 and C-735-1, which is 40 net mineral acres. And what this is it's the sale. There was some mineral rights that were separated from the surface rights land back in 1929 at a properties, was it
Tax sale?
tax sale, and they are Leeward corporation, whatever they are. I can't read that. Leeward is offering Iron County $25,000 per acre, or no, I'm sorry, 600. What was it? $625 per acre, for a total of 25,000.
The company's actually.
Oh, that's what. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me revise my motion. It's actually Parowan Solar LLC that we're transacting with, and they have offered us $625 for per acre, 40 acres for the mineral rights, and that's totals $25,000. Is that got everything, John?
We'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's Leeward then?
I think that was that
the-
company we were working.
We were talking to?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So we're transacting with but they're the agent, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm sorry, and I didn't catch that.
No worries.
All right. With that, I'll declare commission meeting adjourned.